Okay, thank you all of you and welcome back to Exposure Academy. So this is another part of animal tissue culture techniques. It's called microcarrier cell culture. So before this, as already mentioned, we have talked about different types of animal cell lines, media composition, anchorage and anchorage dependent, anchorage independent cell culture, etc. Right? So microcarrier cell culture is actually an advanced form of doing the tissue culture. So here itself, if you see the figure, from this itself you can guess it's like on the beads you're actually culturing your cells. Okay, it might not be clear right now, but eventually it will be clear. So what we are doing is on the bead surface you're growing your cells. Okay, so let's do this. Before that, before to understand microcarrier culture, you need to understand something about bioprocess technology. So you must have heard of it regarding in the case of bacteria. So in this case, we are going to talk about the animals, okay, animal cells. So before that, mammalian cells bioreactor system. So this is important to understand. Now, why this is important? See, every time you cannot do your experiments up to in vitro level, right? That is in the bench level you are doing, right? So whatever you are doing, small plates you are doing, and this understanding whether that protein is expressed or not, it is involved or not, whether that drug is having any effect on that particular cell lines, etc. But what if you want to produce that particular protein in large scale, right? So every time I cannot use the small petri dishes. I need big fermenter type of machines are required, right? In the same, like as in the case of bacteria, we have got the fermenters. In the same way, mammalian cells, we have got the bioreactor systems. Okay, again for the same purpose, for the purification of certain metabolites or growth factors or proteins which are only produced by certain particular cell lines, for which you cannot have only small scale production. We need large scale production, for which we use the bioreactor system. Okay. So yes. So in cell culture, the cells are selected and maintained as the independent unit. So this we know. Now in the case of bioreactor, how much volume can you use? 1 to 10,000 liter. Can you imagine the size of the bioreactor then, right? It is 10,000 liter. So there are two types are there, stirred tank and the airlift bioreactor. So from the word itself, stirred tank, you understand that there is a stirrer present in the bioreactor. So something like this, it will be there and one stirrer will be there. So this will be rotating. This will be rotating. Now why rotation is required? Can anyone tell me? Why in the bioreactor you need a stirrer? Why this has to rotate?
To mix up
No, something else. There is no mixing because already a prepared media you are adding. It's a prepared media plus cells are there. There is no need of requirement of mixing. Anyone else? Think. It is for the aeration. Okay. Provide aeration in the media. That's why we use the rotators or the stirrers. Okay. Now, choice of bioreactor for particular cell, it is determined based on the cell type, of course. So you need to know what kind of protein or your product is being produced from which type of the cells. So that is your first thing. Then nature of the product. Now this is also important because you can have two types of conditions, whether the product is present extracellular or it can be present intracellular. Now what does it mean? So if you have certain metabolites and all, it will be produced extracellular. So that will come in the media, right? So what does it mean? So you need to extract the media afterwards and not the cells. Now if it is intracellular, then you need to harvest the cells, correct? So then if it is a protein, harvest the cells, then cell rupture is there, and then comes your purification. Are you getting the point? So there are two types of product. It can be extracellularly released or intracellular. If it is extracellular, it will be present in the media. So along with the media components, you will have your product also. If it is intracellular, then you need to harvest the animal cells, rupture it. We have already studied about the cell lysis, then purification. So this purification here, it is called downstream processing. I guess I have mentioned this thing also, downstream processing. Okay. Now, the scale up of the operation, availability of space and services. This is also important, whether you're able to grow such animal cells in the bioreactor or not. Then whether you have got that much amount of money is there or not. Now, why money is needed? In order to buy the bioreactor, to buy the components, to buy the media components, etc. Right? So all these things are required before you start any mammalian cell bioreactor. Now, a continuous mode is commonly applied for mammalian cells. So what does it mean? It means that you're going to harvest the culture and then again add the media. So what will happen? There will be again space will be provided so that the cells can grow further. Now, what happens in the case of batch culture? What happens in the case of batch culture? So in the case of batch culture, it means that once you have added, suppose, let us say that you have added 10 liters of the media. Okay. Now you're not adding further. Only 1000 liter is there and completely it is utilized by the cells. So what will happen if you're not further adding the media or not removing the cells? So there will be accumulation of the inhibitor. Now these inhibitors are produced by the mammalian cells. Of course, there will be depletion of the nutrients. Ideally, nothing can be added or removed, but in practice, addition of O2 acid bases are made. This is to maintain the pH, right? So that is batch culture. Now, what is continuous culture? It means you're adding continuously, you're adding more media and removing the cells. Adding the media, removing the cells. Okay. Guys, you can stop in between if you're not able to understand any sentence. Okay. Now, in general, the cell culture bioreactor can be categorized into two types. So again, this because we know that there are two different types of cells. So few cells are anchorage dependent and few are anchorage independent, right? So they will come under the suspended mammalian cells. So depending on your type of requirement, you can either have cultivation of the anchorage dependent cells and you can have the suspended cells also. Okay. For example, of anchorage dependent cell is HeLa, very commonly used, and suspended it is THP1. Okay. Now, ideally, any cell culture bioreactor able to maintain in a sterile culture, which maximum cell growth for the production. This is, of course, it's true because already in the last class we discussed that there will be certain bacterial contamination can be there. That is very easy to come, right? So once you're doing in the laminar hood, okay, when you're doing in the laminar hood, I have already mentioned that so much of precaution you have to take. You need to sterilize your hand, the gloves, the area, the things you're using. Just imagine you need to do for the 10,000 liter of the culture. So how much space needs to be sterilized? How much media needs to be sterilized? Correct. So all that factors they need to consider when you are starting the bioreactor. Now, what can be the limitation? So, of course, the first limitation is the contamination chances. So, this is the main problem because if you are using around 10,000 liter of media, so just imagine how much amount of money you have already spent, as 1 liter comes around 5,000 rupees. Okay, so just imagine 10,000 liter of media means how much. So what will happen if just imagine that if you have contamination in this much amount of media, entire batch you need to then discard. So it's a completely loss of the money and time also, and of course the labor work which the people have put into the system. Now, number of complex interactions, physical, chemical, and biochemical. Now, this is the problem when it happens when you do in the large scale production. Okay, so it can be mixing, aeration, oxygen demand, waste, toxic production will be there. So sometimes what happens is you're using 10,000 liter of the media in the bioreactor, and suppose you're not able to mix it properly. Okay, your stirrer is over here. Just imagine that the media which is present on the bottom, it's not able to get the proper aeration. So what will happen? The media will start becoming the toxic, or they will have the more cell growth but not able to get the more nutrition. So certain problem might come. Okay. Animal cells are more fragile and grow more slowly than the most bacteria. So yes, now when I say about the plate petri dishes, when you're growing the animal cells, I have said that at least it takes 24 hours to double, right? it takes at least 24 hours to double. Now, if you're using around this much of media, do you think 24 hours will be enough to culture, or how much time it will take? Any idea? So it depends on your inoculum. So if you add more inoculum, it will be better, so that it will start taking or getting attached to the surface. Okay. Now, this is how your basic bioreactor configuration looks like. Okay, so this is again a tabletop bioreactor. It is not the company one, because company one means I have said it is around 10,000 liter of the media they use. Here it is around 10 liter only. Okay, so you need to customize everything first before you go for the further large scale production. So what are the requirements over here? So first of all is the inoculum. Inoculum has to be appropriate. Now pH, of course, you can see the color of the media. Oxygen is required. Here, can you see in this container, there is a stirrer over here, like this. Okay. Then temperature is required, of course. So what temperature you are going to keep? 37 degrees Celsius. Hydrophobic air filter, yes. Then medium inlet, air outlet, and sampling port. So what is sampling port? Through which you are going to add your inoculum. Okay. So all these things you need to first, make it standardized, and then you need to scale up for the large scale production. Now, I want to ask you a question over here. Where does the mammalian cell is going to get adhere in this kind of bioreactor? Yes, anyone? Are you getting the question clear over here? Sandhya, question is clear?
Sides of bioreactor.
It is the bioreactor. The entire thing is called the bioreactor. Now you can see over here this orange color media is there, right? So in the petri dishes, you know that on the surface the mammalian cells get attached, right? What about in this case, where it is going to get attached? Where adherence will take place? Anyone? See, if it was bacteria, the media over here, the bacteria will be here and there, right? For suspended condition, it is no problem. But we know that in the case of anchorage dependent, it needs the surface to get attached. So in such kind of bioreactor, where it will get attached? Any idea? No? No? Nobody? See, here only the concept of beads comes. Okay. So there will be a suspended beads in this. Suspended beads will be present like this. And on the beads, you will have your animal cells growing. So they are getting the surface to get attached. Now it is clear? And for this only
Yes, ma'am.
is required. Okay, so this will be present over here. It will look like a colloidal suspension. Okay, we'll show more videos over here. I have taken from somewhere. Okay, so what are the principal features for the cultivation? So this and all is very, commonly known. So mixing should be proper. Small scale magnetic stirrer is used. Okay, then for this we use marine propeller. So propeller means that kind of thing is there, right, at the end of the boat and all. So in this case also the stirrer we use the propeller. Then in the case of large, there is a turbine kind of things are there. Now what is the speed over here? It is 100 to 150 RPM. So it will be very slowly rotating in the entire bioreactor. Okay. Now how do you sterilize? So this autoclaving condition. This is simple. The same thing, autoclave condition. Now what you're going to autoclave over here? All the vessels, not your media. Okay. Why not media? Media needs sterilization using syringe filter. Okay, you cannot use autoclave for media. Why? Because in the autoclave the temperature is so high. What will happen? All the proteins or the growth factors which is present in the media will get denatured. So you never sterilize media, animal cell culture media in the autoclave. Bacterial media you can autoclave. Okay, already they are in their denatured form only, and bacteria can survive. Whereas in the case of animal cell culture media, you cannot use autoclave. Okay, I'm repeating again, you cannot use autoclave. What you have to do is syringe filter. So there will be filters like this, and you need to pass the media using the pressure. Okay, it looks like this. The filters look like this. Over here, a thin membrane will be there, and from this membrane, you need to pass the media. Now you need to control the temperature. It has to be 37 degrees Celsius, otherwise the cells are not going to grow. Then of course the pH needs to be physiological pH, and then oxygenation means you need to supply the oxygen. Okay, so all these conditions are given in order to carry out the bioreactor cell culturing. Now shear force is there. Now why the shear force is coming? Because you're using this stirrer, so there will be a shear stress, that is the force per unit area acting on the body. So what will happen when this kind of force is there? So there are chances that the mammalian cell can get denatured or the disrupted. Okay, so what we do, we use low shear axial flow impellers, and we also use protectorants. Okay, so these protectorants are going to protect the membrane integrity of your cell. Okay, so it will ensure that it is not going to get ruptured during the bioreactor study when we are doing. Now you need to also ensure that the media contains the sufficient nutrients and they're not shear sensitive. So if suppose you know that there are certain cells which are very sensitive to small change in the mechanical stress also, you cannot use it, right? Because what will happen if the membranes gets disrupted, all the protein, all the factors, all the components of the cytoplasm will come outside in the media. The cells are not going to grow, right? So whatever you want to do, the experiments are not going to function now. Yes. So this is the same thing what we have discussed. So in order to overcome this problem of the shear forces, the other alternate is to use the airlift bioreactor. Okay, so there are two ways by which what will happen. See, whenever you use anything which rotates, there is always a production of bubbles, right? The bubbles will be there, or foam formation will be there. So there are two ways by which it can hamper. So what is happening? If the bubbles collapse at the surface of the reactor, the cells will get trapped onto the bubbles. Now when bubbles are actually getting ruptured, what will happen? There is a great force with the velocity, and that will rupture the membrane of the cells. Okay. So what you can do? You can add certain low surface tension containing reagents. Okay. Now second, if the cells can be damaged when they are trapped in the foams. Now why foams are produced? Remember always, whenever you have any liquid, okay, containing a rich amount of proteins, and then you're stirring, there is always a production of foam. And that is the one way of actually understanding whether your sample has got protein or not. Suppose you come for the interview in my lab. Okay, I'm just giving you one sample and I'm asking you, it's a transparent solution I'm giving you in the test tube, and if I'm asking you, now tell me whether it's a protein or DNA solution. So what we will do, just shake the test tube. If there is a foam production, if you see the bubbles formation, then you can say that it's a protein solution. If there is nothing, then say the DNA solution. Okay, so these are the certain kinds of tricks for you guys, because such questions be asked during the interviews. Okay, so coming back to this, the cells can be damaged when trapped in the foams. So as the foam moves, they will tend to drag the membranes of trapped cells with them, right? So what will happen? So when bubbles surrounding a cell move in different direction, they will be torn in the sheared apart. Okay. So what is the solution to this? You just increase the diameter of the disengagement zone. So what does it mean? If my bioreactor is like this, I'm going to make it like this. Okay. Then stirrers. So this and all again very simple to understand. So you're going to use the axial flow impellers, and there are certain turbines also are there to use, you can use, and the speed should be very less so that there is no foam production also. Now, high oxygen rates are also facilitated, so that's why I said the stirrers are required in order to provide the aeration. Okay. Now, talking about the protectorant, as I mentioned, so this will protect from the shear damage and also from the bubble damage also. Okay, so it is works by acting on the surface properties of the cell culture medium. So it is believed that it makes the bubble slippery. So what does it mean by making the bubble slippery? It means then what will happen? The cells are not going to get attached or get trapped into the bubbles. Okay. So it is going to increase the cell membrane strength. So it will avoid or prevent the disruption of the cells. Then it will stabilize the foam also. So because of which there will be less foam production, and hence it will help in the maintaining the cell membrane integrity. So what you can use pluronic F68 and serum. Okay. Now, the most important bioreactor for animal cell culture. So this is one which you can use airlift fermenter. Okay. Now in the diagram, it's not that clear over here. So what you can see is over here, this thing is there, and from the bottom you actually give the bubbles. So what will happen? It will minimize the bubble and foam formation. From the bottom, there will be one pump will be there. So from the bottom, it will be giving the air, right? So that's what will happen. The more bubble and foam formation won't be there. Are you able to imagine? See, already I said like this, it will be there, right? This is one kind of bioreactor. Now in this case, the aeration will be given from here, from the bottom. Okay. And in the suspension, as I said, your beads are there on the top of which the cells are there. So when I'm giving the aeration from the bottom, so it will reduce the bubble and foam formation. These are the other ones. I mean, it's not there in your syllabus, the ceramic bioreactor and all. Just for the extra knowledge, I have added over here. So it consists of multiple channels which run through the length of the ceramic cylinder. So long ceramic cylinder will be there. Okay. Now it is having the porous ceramic for the non-adherent cell line. So what does it mean? It is meant for your suspended suspension cells. Then hollow fiber bioreactor. Can you see over here like this? A big hollow tube they have taken over here in order to pass the media, and this will reduce the pressure. Again, in this case, you can use both anchorage dependent and the independent cells. Like how? Why? The anchorage dependent cells, in this case, again, you are going to use the beads. Whereas in the case of independent cells, directly the cells can be put into the media. Okay. Now we'll talk about the microcarrier cell culture, which is there for your syllabus also. Now this is important. So before we proceed, I'll tell you. So in the bioreactor, when we were studying, all these suspended solutions were made. Okay. So just imagine these are the beads you have suspended in the buffer. Now on the top of these beads, these cells will grow. It will form a monolayer over here like this. Okay. Now, what are the applications of using microcarrier over here? It increases the surface area. It increases the surface area. So because of which what will happen? More amount of cells can be grown. Okay. So let's see how exactly the people have done. So it provides homogeneous environment. Yes. Now this ensures efficient utilization of costly culture media components. So what does it mean? See, all these beads will be, pass through the entire media because of the stirrers or because of the aeration. So the entire components of the media will be utilized. Okay. So it is important to realize the full potential of this technology, especially with respect to scaling up the culture volumes. So first you can do the 10-liter culture thing, and then you can increase this also. And believe me, it is going to help in building the business. Now, these are the examples. So MRC5, or you can use the other HeLa cells also. So they are cultured in the DMEM media containing Cytodex-1. Now, what is Cytodex-1 over here? It is the beads, and they are called the microcarriers. So what concentration they are using? 2 grams per liter. So what are these? So 2 grams of the beads in 1 liter you have actually added in order to carry out the suspension. Okay. Now, confluent microcarriers were allowed to settle to the bottom of the culture vessel, remove the media, supernatant, and wash the microcarriers with the PBR. So what does it mean? So once your culture has been over, okay, So you have kept for the estimated time for the doubling. So what will happen once you stop the aeration, because of the weight, what will happen, these beads will get settled over here, right? So remove the supernatant, take the bottom beads, then wash it with the PBS, and then harvest the cells. So this is how your actually spinners look like. Can you see over here on the what stirrer is there? So slowly you need to actually carry out. So this we are doing in the lab level. Okay. So I'm not having any big images as such for the large scale. Now this is one video, so where you can see how the microcarriers are made. Okay. So just go through this video.
Microcarriers in the form of dry beads are first hydrated and washed thoroughly. Suspend and resuspend the microcarrier in phosphate buffer saline before autoclaving. Microcarrier stock suspension at a concentration of 10 grams per liter in 1 liter or 500 milliliter bottles is convenient to use. These microcarrier stock suspensions can be autoclaved at 121 degrees for 20 minutes. Since microcarrier beads are suspended in PBS, they are usually rinsed with tissue culture medium to displace PBS before use. Otherwise, the PBS carried over by the microcarrier can dilute the cell culture medium appreciably. For small quantities, the washing can be done in disposable centrifuge tubes. Microcarrier beads settle to the bottom of the centrifuge tube quickly, or centrifugation can be used. In general, the microcarrier suspension can be centrifuged at about 500 RPM. As soon as the centrifuge reaches the peak speed, it can be turned off. The supernatant is then sucked off. In our experience, when sucking off the supernatant using a pipette, it is always easier to suck from the side of the centrifuge tube, so that a minimum amount of microcarriers is sucked off. After filling the centrifuge tube gently with medium, you may recap the centrifuge tube and invert the tube to suspend beads. In any case, avoid the formation of any foam in these manipulations. Depending on the quantity of the beads, washing with medium once or twice is sufficient. After the last washing step, growth medium is used to suspend the microcarriers. The washed beads can now be poured into the spinner bottle. When pouring in the medium, it is easier to tilt this spinner flask so that the beads don't settle on the sidearm. Growth medium is then added to the spinner flask to the desired volume, but leave enough volume for the inoculation of cells later. The entire flask is then incubated at 37 degrees Celsius in an appropriate carbon dioxide environment. This step is important to allow the temperature and pH to equilibrate before the inoculation.
So you got the idea how exactly in order we carry out? Were you were able to see the beads actually, like it was kept in the centrifuge tubes, small white dots were present.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I mean it got repeated, the video got repeated again. Yes, so you got the idea, right, how exactly to do. So what was the first thing they have done? So first they have hydrated the beads, cytodex, they kept in the PBS. Okay, after that they wash the beads, then added the medium, and then they added into the bottle. Now that bottle will be kept for the incubation. Okay, so now the thing is about the trypsinization. So why do we use trypsinization? Remember, in order to detach from the cell surface. So in this case, you are using 15 minutes exposure. As in the case of plates, I mentioned that you are going to use only max to max 1 to 2 minutes. Okay. Now the viability of the harvested cells will be around 95%, and there will be no loss of cells. So around 80 to 90% of the cell inocula reattach to the fresh microcarriers in the substitution culture. So it means what? You have done the trypsinization, wash with the media, wash with the PBS, and then after that you're going for the subculturing. That is, you're adding to the new batch of the microcarrier. So around 90% of the cell will again get easily attached. Okay. Now, cultures could be successfully initiated with as few or two viable cells per bead. So it means that on bead first around 1 or 2 cells will come and eventually it will cover the entire bead. Okay, so they can be split into 1:10. So in the case of MRC, it is split into 1:10. So what does it mean? What is the splitting ratio? It means, see, it means that from one test tube, it can be split into 10. Okay, so if suppose I'm taking 1 ml, I can split into 10. So I will have 10 vials then. Okay, so that is the meaning. Now, residual trypsin in old microcarriers did not affect the initiation of the subsequent culture. So again, even if it is a small amount of trypsin is present and old microcarriers are present in the new batch, it is not going to affect the culture. Okay. Okay, so this is the video I'm showing over here where you can see how exactly the next step is carried out. See the inoculation of the cells.
Before inoculation, the microcarrier spinner flask is removed from the incubator and placed on a magnetic stir in the laminar flow hood. A slow agitation is used to ensure that all the microcarriers are kept in suspension. The balance amount of the medium is added to the flask. The cell suspension is gently dispersed again to ensure that the cells are in single-cell suspension. The cell suspension can then be poured into the spinner flasks while the microcarriers are in suspension. This process has to be done as quickly as possible to avoid changes in temperature and pH. After inoculation, the spinner flask is placed back in the magnetic stir in the incubator. In general, a minimum speed required to keep all the microcarrier in suspension is used. Agitating too fast may affect the cell attachment rate after inoculation or even be detrimental to cells. If the agitation rate is too slow, or if the impeller is placed too high above the bottom, there may be a cone of microcarriers formed at the bottom of the flask. If the impeller is placed too low or is too large, so that there is not enough clearance between the tip of the impeller and the wall of the flask, then occasionally one may see crushed beads in the suspension.
Clear? So you have seen in the test tube, he was having the media as well as the suspended cells, suspended beads were there. Then it was added into the spinner. That flask it was added, and then you saw the stirrer also, right? Now what they've mentioned is that it cannot be so high. Otherwise, what will happen? Foam formation will be there, bubbles formation will be there, right? Now it cannot be that slow also. Otherwise, what will happen? The proper aeration will not be there. Then the distance between the stirrer and the ball should be sufficient enough so that the media and the beads can pass through very easily. If it is less, what will happen? It will result in the crushing of the beads. Now this is how you have the beads, and on the top of it you can see the adhered cells are there. So this is how the microcarrier is working in the bioreactor. Now the idea is clear to you. Can you imagine now how
Yes, ma'am.
the cells are
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Okay. So just see the cell attachment now. Another video.
Many factors may affect the kinetics of cell attachment to microcarriers, such as cell types, microcarrier types, trypsinization procedure, and even the cultivation conditions of the seed culture. The kinetics of cell attachment can be followed by the disappearance of unattached cells in the supernatant. In general, cells attach to controlled charge microcarriers at a faster rate than to gelatin-coated ones. To observe cell attachment, 0.2 to 0.4 milliliters of cell and microcarrier suspension is withdrawn from the spinner and transferred into a 24-well plate. In taking the sample and transferring it to the 24-well plate, it is necessary to keep the pipette in a vertical position so that no microcarriers are retained in the pipette. Cell attachment is marked by the disappearance of unattached cells. For some cell types under optimum conditions, A 90% attachment to microcarriers can be achieved within half an hour after inoculation. For other cell types, or for some microcarriers, it may take as long as 2 to 3 hours to have 90% attachment. A good cell attachment process should allow for most cells to attach within 2 to 3 hours. If the attachment process is too slow, aggregates may begin to form and viability may decrease. The spreading of the cells occurs almost immediately after the attachment. Of course, it may vary with the cell type and also with the medium used.
Now detachment, like how to carry out the trypsinization. This is your
The cell
bioreactor.
culture production process involves 2 stages: a cell propagation stage, followed by the product formation stage. The cell propagation stage may include a series of microcarrier cultures with increasing reactor volumes before it reaches the production stage. In these seed reactors, one should avoid maintaining cells at a confluent stage over an extended period. In general, it is preferable to use a culture at its late exponential or subconfluent
The
stage of
entire
growth.
beads has been covered by the cells.
Furthermore, cells at the subconfluent stage are relatively easier to be trypsinized from the microcarriers than those cells at the confluent or post-confluent stage. The first step in
Those cells were
detaching
actually
cells
stained, okay?
is the removal of the medium and the washing of cells. The microcarriers are allowed to settle, and the medium is removed by suction. The washing step can be carried out either in a spinner flask or in a centrifuge tube. Compared to roller bottles or tea flasks, the washing step for microcarriers has to be much more extensive. Because of the high porosity of the dextran beads, a large amount of medium is retained inside the beads, even after extensive washing. Furthermore, the cells clinging to the dextran beads slow down the diffusion of medium components from inside the beads to the bulk liquid. The cell-laden microcarriers are resuspended in the washing buffer and maintained in suspension by agitation for a short period before they are allowed to settle again, and the supernatant is withdrawn. The effect of washing will be readily visible by the decreased intensity of the phenol red color in the microcarrier beads. Multiple steps of washing are usually needed with the use of 30 to 50 volumes of washing buffer. The steps following the initial washing vary with cell strains and with microcarriers. For a number of cells grown on Cytodex 1 or controlled charged microcarriers, after the initial washing, cells are ready to be exposed to trypsin solution for detachment. However, for other cells, especially those grown on gelatin-coated microcarriers, another incubation step is often needed to facilitate initial morphological change before cells are exposed to trypsin solution. A balanced salt solution without calcium and magnesium, containing a small amount of glucose, is used in the incubation stage in our laboratory. To this solution, a 0.5 millimolar of EDTA is also included. The incubation can be carried out at 37 degrees Celsius. The incubation time ranges from 10 to 20 minutes. During the incubation period, cells begin to round up and change from an elongated shape to a more spherical shape. This incubation step is thought to shorten the time of the subsequent trypsin treatment and facilitate the cell detachment. How trypsinization is carried out is dependent on the pH of trypsin treatment and on whether it is necessary to remove trypsin afterwards. If a sufficient dilution can be achieved in the subsequent cultivation stage and the pH is neutral, then the trypsinization can be carried out in the original flask or a test tube. Before the trypsin solution is added to the microcarrier, the liquid volume of the microcarrier suspension is reduced to 2 to 3 times that of the settled microcarrier beads. Trypsin solution is then added to give rise to the desired concentration. In some cases, the removal of residual trypsin is critical, such as when serum-free medium is employed. There are also cases when a higher pH, in the range of 8 to 9, is used in the trypsinization, especially when controlled charge microcarriers are used. The buffers used in the washing and incubation steps have a neutral pH. For high pH treatment, it is necessary to replace the residual buffer with the high pH trypsin solution. For both removal of residual trypsin and high pH treatment, the use of a chromatographic column or other filtration device is convenient. The cell-laden microcarriers are mixed with the trypsin solution, poured into the filtration device, and allowed to settle. The trypsin solution is then drained from the bottom of the microcarrier bed or withdrawn from the top by suction. The trypsinization step takes only a very short period, ranging from 30 seconds to a few minutes. During exposure to trypsin, cells develop a spherical shape. Fresh medium is then added to stop the proteolytic reaction. Cells are suspended in the medium, and mild shear force is applied in many different forms. Mild pipetting is the easiest way to provide shear force in a laboratory. In our laboratory, we have found it convenient to pass the cell microcarrier suspension through a column packed with glass beads. The trypsinized microcarrier and cell suspension can be passed through the column by gravity. Because of the high void volume, the passage through the column is rapid, and the amount of microcarriers or cells retained on the packed glass beads is relatively small. The column is further washed with fresh medium. Microscopic examination should be performed to ensure that most of the cells are detached from the microcarriers. In general, about 95% of cells can be detached, with a viability of 90 to 95%. Some cells reattach rapidly to the microcarriers from which they were detached. Therefore, it is advisable to maintain the temperature relatively low to decrease the reattachment rate. In the cases where a high multiplication ratio is used, as in the cultivation of vero cells and many other continuous cell lines, the cell microcarrier suspension can be inoculated directly into a new culture. On the other hand, if a low multiplication ratio is used, as in the cultivation of human foreskin cells, FS4, a large amount of used microcarriers may be carried over to the new culture. To separate cells from the microcarriers from which they were detached, avoid passing cells through a packed bed of used microcarriers, such as in the case of dead-end filtration. For a rapid separation of cells from used microcarriers, a tangential flow-type filtration should be used. The filter is made of stainless steel screen with 60-micron openings. In the course of filtration, the microcarriers are collected at the bottom of the filter, while the free cells readily pass through the cylindrical screen at the center and are collected at the bottom. The subsequent inoculation steps are essentially the same as those for the inoculation from the roller bottles. Cells trypsinized from a seed culture readily reattach to a new microcarrier culture after inoculation.
Okay. So you got the idea how on the microbeads these cells were attached and then how it was detached. Very beautifully you can see the beads were like this,
Yes.
on the top the cells were there, right? So when you saw that blue color cells and all, so they were actually stained. It was stained, that's why. Okay, otherwise you don't see any color on the beads or any color on the cells, since it was stained and then observed microscopically. Then we also saw that after the trypsinization, you can see only the beads were there, normal beads were there, and cells were present on the sides, right? And that's what they were saying, that in order to prevent the reattachment of the cells on the beads, you need to lower the temperature. Correct. So I hope these videos were helpful, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So the cell recovery after trypsinization is high, cell viability is high. You can also transfer the inoculum. So all these things are there. So these are the applications of using the microcarriers. So you have seen the bioreactors also now. So inside also again the stirrers are there. So large amount of media are used and carry out. So what we have seen in the videos were actually only the lab level, bench level only. So hardly around 200 or 300 ml of media was used to carry out the procedure. Okay, so that's all about the microcarrier cell culture. So any doubts are there? So I have shared the link of the videos also. If suppose in the lecture it was not clear, you can go through the link and you can watch it again. Okay, so it was really helpful and very less information is available in the net also. Okay guys, any doubts are there?